I told her, I was like, I can't get out of bed. Like, it's, and she was just like, Karlie, like, that's depression. And like, when she said that, it was so hard for me to be like, what? Like, she was like, what you're going through, like, you're depressed. And she was like, I don't want you going back.
Hey, lovers of the world, this is Devyn, and this is It's Hard Being Human, featuring Karlie and Nadine. And today we're going to talk all about Karlie. Check out our social medias first. I introduced Karlie a little too soon, but that's okay. We love Karlie. Hashtag Team Karlie. But check out our social media, Postpirations, Instagram, TikTok. We don't have a Twitter yet. And then check us out on Patreon if you'd like to be a supporter. And feel free to DM us at any time if you have any questions or ideas for future episodes. And thank you for listening. So let's talk about Karlie.
And I want to add to the socials because Devyn is like our main girl, but I want people to know that you can find me and Nadine through Devyn, and feel free to become our friends as well on Insta.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, feel free to become my friend. Okay. Hashtag Team Karlie.
Okay.
Nadine don't want no new friends.
No new
so
friends. No
that's not true. She might leave you in the.
Yes, no new friends.
Nadine wants a new friend if you're a man over 6 foot, and
she's also looking for female friends if you live in South Florida.
Like 6'2" to 3. Anything less, it's not worth the conversation. But
woo. On that note, I will
back to you, Karlie.
So as we had mentioned in our little mini episode, we are all going to tell our stories, and I am first up. And so I'll start with I was born on so I am the youngest and only girl of 2 older brothers. So that brings out the little tomboyish niche of me.
The little?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, you're a barbarian, but okay.
It's very, very small. I don't know what.
Very, very loud, but okay, go ahead.
I don't know what these ladies are talking about, but I'm very
He's the most ladylike.
Out of the 3 of us, I am the most ladylike. Okay.
What?
No, actually, I would like to say that me and Nadine were on the phone. So me and Nadine have been having private conversations.
You retract that comment. You're the most ladylike?
It was a joke, Nadine.
No, I need you to say it, though.
I just did. I just said it was
not. Say the words.
So me and Nadine were on the phone.
Words. I can't proceed if you don't say the words.
Say what words?
That you're not the most.
That you're the bougiest?
No, that you're not the most ladylike.
I said it was a joke. That comment
the words,
for my viewers out there.
Say the words.
That I am ladylike.
So this episode up on a lie. Go ahead.
Me and Nadine were on the phone the other day, and they both love me because I'll burp. And when me and Nadine first started to get to know each other, she would always cut off the conversation of like, are we not going to acknowledge this? Anyway, so me and her have been talking on the phone more often, and I told her this is how I know she's becoming part of my inner circle, because she doesn't acknowledge it anymore, and she just keeps talking. And I'm like, that's how you know you are part of my inner circle? Because you don't say anything. You just let it happen.
But are we going to talk about more?
Or I'm desensitized to it, and I'm just letting it happen to me. Maybe I'm numb inside.
What do you want to talk about, Devyn?
I want people to understand. It's not just a burp. Like, excuse me. proud.
and provide like concrete
I
examples
got it
of
from my
what
mama. Okay.
barbaric. Like it's barbaric. It's like it comes from the stomach. It's barbaric. It's not like even a throat burp. It's a stomach burp.
It's from
There's
her
nothing
It
soul.
sounds like
light about the way that you burp. It's barbaric.
someone's jealous,
I don't know.
and I
No,
just
no, no, no. That's one thing I'll never be jealous of. You can keep that. You can keep it. You can keep it.
I got it from my mom. Devyn can attest to that.
Bet you Kristen can throw
So
down.
so I'll say like, okay, not only am I the only girl of two brothers, but my mom is also like a hardcore tomboy. So like growing up, like I didn't know how to do makeup. I probably oh, okay. We're talking about me. So let me tell y'all, I didn't know how to do makeup. I went to Catholic school for 9 years. We weren't allowed to wear makeup. We weren't allowed to, I had wore a uniform. I didn't pick out outfits. I didn't know how to like dress, to be honest. Like, yeah. Anyway, I remember for my 8th grade graduation, we were allowed to wear makeup. I didn't know what I was doing. Literally the night before, my mom took me to Walmart to buy makeup because I didn't own makeup. So what did I get? Like eyeliner and mascara. What did I do? Black I had raccoon eyes, and I want to say I even remember someone being like, "Do you know how to do makeup?" And I was like, "Yeah." But like in my head I was like, "No, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing." And my 8th grade graduation pictures show that because I have like black raccoon round, like it was horrible. So I slowly learned makeup and whatever. But that is to preface why I am the way that I am. Like I'm not big into makeup. I feel like like I'm not the girliest girl
You're
out
not a
there.
girl, period. Not
That
just
can we
girly,
please
but that's
make
not
a
fair.
note? Yes,
Let's
I
fix the
am a
agenda.
woman.
Let's
She is a
differentiate.
woman.
Go ahead, Nick.
I am a
One
woman.
hell of
Express,
a woman.
express
One
yourself. Go ahead.
hell of a woman.
Go.
I just don't express myself like Nadine does. So Nadine is like a girly girl. I would not put myself in that category. I played basketball
No,
growing
no, no,
up.
no. I play basketball. I catch a mean football. I have
Let me get my
videotapes
nails.
to. No,
Stop
no,
it.
no. Let's not get it twisted. All nails are like within functional length. Okay, I don't have long nails. Okay, I'm not a Miami girl.
Just
So let's be
toenail
clear.
claws.
Okay, this girl likes to get dirty. Okay, with the right person, this girl will get there. Like whatever, Carly. This is your episode. Whatever. Hurry.
I don't know what dirty now we're talking about. So but
Proceed, Carly. Go ahead. So you played
thank you.
basketball.
So I played basketball. I will say like in high school when I started to like get like a lot of girly friends, that's probably when I started to learn like makeup and like kind of get a style and things like that because then like again when I was in Catholic school, I only got to wear like normal clothes on the weekends and like I was wearing some things. But anyway, um so so yeah, so I'm the only girl. High school was a lot of fun. And then I went into college, go Bulls, USF. And college, I feel like that's when I was like out there, as Devin says, in them streets.
Well,
Like
Carly was
college,
always social. You were always, even in high
yes.
school, Carly had a lot of friends. But then college brought out like Carly was out there.
Devin won't say the words. I'll say it. It brought out the whore in you.
But
The
she wasn't
thought.
really. Like,
No, not
yes
really.
and
I'm
no.
There's no in between.
I'm
Are
like
you a
a
whore
flirt.
or
She's like
not?
a PG whore.
No, I believe Carly's
Yeah, I'm
a
a
whore.
flirt. Like I get really what I was telling Devin the other day is like if I'm not interested in you, I'm probably going to be like way more flirty with you than if I am interested in you because if I'm interested in you, I'm going to be so shy and I'm going to be like I don't know what to say, but like if I'm not, I'll be like what's up? Like and I will like have like jokes and then I feel like they get interested in me and I'm like no, but I was really feeling your homie over there, the one that I actually didn't talk to all night because I was so nervous to say anything to him, and like I would just sneak a side eye and be like, "What's up? Do you see me?" That's I think how I roll because I get nervous.
Uh,
So and I think
that's
I get
also,
nervous.
I think that's also defined as hoe tendencies. I could be wrong, but I believe that's what ludicrous, yeah, hoe tendencies. But that's okay. That's neither here nor there. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I think I get nervous because I never had a boyfriend in middle school, high school, none of that. And then I got my first boyfriend. I know, right? I was like, do I call him a boyfriend? I don't know. It was 6 years of something. Um, I got him when I was
You got
21.
him.
Well, I chased after him. So we met like right after my 21st birthday. And you guys already know the story, and I know I've already said it, but I love that story because I want that to be how it happened. Not the exact same way, but just like how organic it was, and
It
it
was
just
cute.
like
It was cute.
it was cute. Thank you. Give it to me. Okay. It was cute, Nadine. It
I don't
wasn't a
know yet, so I can't say it was cute or ugly. Go
you
ahead.
know what?
Go ahead and share. I don't know if it's cute or ugly. We don't know.
Oh, well then you weren't paying attention.
Maybe.
So how we had met was I was having a girls' night with one of my friends at the time, and in my head it was a girls' night. We were chilling, smoking, vibing, and then she throws in, "Oh, my man's gonna come by, and he's gonna bring his best friend." And she was like talking him up, my ex, like saying like pretty much like if she wasn't with her man, she probably would have gone like that's how I interpreted it. And I was like, okay, like you're really making him like sound really good.
Wait,
Like
are you
he's a
still friends
family
with
man.
this girl?
No.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Sounds like
But
the girl was like a pathological liar, but that's neither here nor there nonetheless.
but she was like talking about she's like he's a family man, like all of that. You know, like he wants a family, da da da. So I'm like, all right, girl, what's up? So then he shows up like late. Like not super late, but late. And when he came in, I was like, he's okay. Like, you know, like I feel like, you know, when someone really talks someone up, I feel like no matter what, you're gonna get let down at that point because you're like expecting like an amazing person.
Hmm.
So I was like, he's okay, whatever. But then we're like talking, and we went to the grocery store, me, her, and him,
Excuse
and I had
me.
food.
Excuse me. You went to the grocery store the first time you met him?
Yeah, because we were all hanging out, but we had run out of beer, and then we also wanted snacks, and I had food stamps at the time, so I was like, I got y'all.
Carly's giving
So
all the details. Remember, she's 21. She's not barely a baby.
Go for it. Go for it.
So we roll up with my food stamps, and I'm like, literally anything you want, as long as it's not hot, I got you. And at this point, I
That's your
hadn't
tax
told him
dollars,
that
Nadine.
So literally at this point, I hadn't told him yet that it was food stamps. So he told me like later on that he thought it was really weird that I told him he could get anything but hot food. And then when we got to the checkout, it was because I whipped out my and he was like, "Oh, like that makes sense." He's like, "I was wondering why like I couldn't get hot food." And I'm like, "Yeah, it doesn't cover that. Like, come on, play it smart, buddy." So we get you know, whatever. And then we get back and like at this point, you know, we're joking back and forth, like I joke. And I was high, so I was
And
like,
you swiped your EBT card, so you're just like the best person. But go ahead.
Carly's
for real,
balling.
like
She's the girl.
when I had EBT, let me tell y'all, my EBT, they expedited the card to me because they said I was so poor. So I got that card like the next day after I applied because they were like, this girl is broke. And then I would like buy my roommates, I would buy our groceries for us because they gave me a good amount. But
You got that good
RIP, I
mac and
miss those
cheese.
things. Right. We gonna get steak tonight, baby. This is not part of the story. This is why I am the way that I am. No. So
Okay.
we get back to her place. We're all still hanging out and everything. And probably around like 3 a.m. we're like, okay, like we're gonna go home. And so at this point, we've been talking. I'm like, okay, he's pretty cool. Like, he's funny. Like, So he didn't ask for my number though, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
Maybe your EBT
hello.
get him a hot.
Are you not getting the vibe? Like, I'm throwing it out there that I want you to ask without saying anything.
Maybe
So we get in the
EBT
car.
card didn't give him like a hot feeling, you know?
If anything, that is a bonus, and that is a, like, I'm gonna be like, what's up? You got them food stamps? Come over here, baby. So
Not anymore, Karlie. Karlie's like, we'll see. TBD.
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to put
You
my
gonna buy
shades
my
on.
groceries?
I'm really gonna have to put my shades on for this episode because my eyes don't lie, and this is a lot. This is a lot.
Nadine is judging me at 21. So
No, I'm judging you like regardless. Like you're at
I
the
don't
store
judge.
just swiping shit left and right, just living your best life.
Hell yeah. At 21, ask Devyn. I was living my best life. Living it.
All right, let me grab my shades. Go ahead.
So so um we both get in our car, and I think I'm behind him. Or no, he's behind me. And he's behind me. And he jumps out of his car. No, he's in front of me. It doesn't matter. But he's in front of me. He jumps out of his car and he runs back to my car and asks for my number. And so I was like, okay. And then I give him my number, and then like we just like the conversation never ended. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like sometimes you give someone your number and then like you get ghosted or whatever, but like it just never, we just continued to talk. And so then I was like, ooh, he's like really cute. And then it's funny because we found out that we ended up, when we first met, we lived like a half a mile from each other. Like, I could literally walk to his, and I don't know if you remember, Devyn, but one time we went and picked him up for frozen yogurt,
I think so.
and he literally is like, he was like a 5-10 minute walk from me, like half a mile. And so, you know, we were like hanging, and it was very casual because that was like, he was like the first guy that like it ever like continued, because again, I feel like I had talked to guys and stuff, but I felt like after a week or two it was like, you know, it fell off, nothing ever happened.
I felt like you weren't
So
really like, I feel like you never really, like, you were so concerned with your friends. Like, you had so many friends and people around you. You never really made that room.
yeah, no, and I think, and that's why I feel like I was just doing me,
Yeah.
but then like he came along and I was just like, what's up? So then yeah, so then, you know, sometime, like, I remember it was about 3 months, because I remember it was Friday the 13th. And the only reason I remember that is because I had gotten some tattoos for Friday the 13th.
Been there.
And I had told him, and he was like, oh, come by, show me what you got. And I went, and then that's when I was like, hey, like, what are we doing? You know, like, what's kind of going on here? And that's when he was like, oh, you know, I just want to be friends. And at this point, we had already kissed. Like, yeah, I'm
Kiss
pretty sure, like,
you kiss and you swiped your EBT card for him. Let's just throw that out there.
yes, and I
Okay.
bought, well, I'm not going to say for him, because it was a hangout. We were all hanging out. Like, the snacks were for everyone. It wasn't like I was like, let me take you to the grocery and buy you groceries. Like,
You're the new
we were
sugar
all
mama.
hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, you could have
Yeah.
omitted his snacks, but you just chose not to because you saw like the potential. Maybe
What? What's your question? Say it again.
it's not a question; it's a statement. I said you saw the potential of like like this is my forever guy, so I'm just gonna buy him these hot chips. Maybe.
I only ever saw the potential.
Oh,
Let me preface this story with, I always saw his potential.
all
Always.
right.
So, look, she got her shades on
Because
now.
the
You
Yeah.
eyes
ready?
don't lie. The
She's getting
eyes
ready.
never lie. So go ahead.
So, and actually, before I go, I saw this quote the other day that said, like, people, like, trauma survivors, usually when they tell their story, they downplay it in what they experienced and went through. And so what they've actually went through and tell the story, it was probably way worse than what they say, because they tend to downplay what it was. And I was like, and it made me think about when we talked last, because it's like, you make like it's like, oh, like, that's how, whatever. Anyways, so I just saw that and I was like, I totally believe that. So at like 3 months, I was like, hey, and that's when he said, like, oh, I just want to be friends. Like, I'm not looking for a relationship. I can't remember like what his reasoning, but that was what he had said. And at that point, um, I should have just accepted that and wiped my hands clean, but I didn't. And it's funny because after we had broke up, I told him that, and he hates that I say this. He's like, I don't like that you say that. Like,
No one ever likes
yeah.
the truth, but that is what it is. No one ever likes to hear the truth. It is what it is.
And so I told him, I was like, I should have let you go. Like, I shouldn't have pushed. I shouldn't have chased you. You told me you want to be friends. I should have taken it for what it was, and I didn't. And I think that I didn't because, one, I had liked him so much. Like, I get attached very easily, as you both know. And so it was like, because I think I had never had like a boyfriend, and it's not that like it's not that like guys didn't like me or anything. I just feel like I always felt like I didn't like get chosen. Like I always felt like, and like that's something that I'm working on, because I felt like with my ex, when he said that, it was like, I'm going to prove to you that you do want to be with me. And then it became like that unhealthy toxic cycle of me chasing him, and like then like I would get tired of it and I would stop, and then he would, breadcrumb me and give me just a little bit to where I'd be like, okay, like, and that went on for literally 6 years. And it's funny because like I don't remember it all, like I don't remember a lot, but I can remember my mom had told me one time when I was living in Ybor, Devon, near you. I guess me and him had gotten into like an argument about something. And usually the arguments that we got into was I felt like he wasn't treating me great, and I wasn't feeling like a priority, which I think that's why it's so important to me now, because I went for 6 years pretty much like love deprived by the person that I was with and giving him my everything. And so I don't know what the argument was, but my mom remembers, and she was like, you guys didn't talk for like almost 2 weeks. And she's like, I really thought that that was going to be it. And then one day he like reached out to you and you just went. And I can remember like, this is how unhealthy it was. Like when we wouldn't talk, I was so uneasy and like I didn't know how to operate when like me and him were not in a good place, like in terms of, because like we were never really in a good place ever, but when we were not in a good place in the in sense of like I voiced how I was feeling, I would get so uneasy of like, oh my god, he's gonna leave me, and I would immediately like try to retract of like, what can I do to repair, I didn't mean it, like what can I do to repair this, and that was the cycle that we would go through. Or like I would tell him like, hey, I'm feeling kind of like unappreciated, and like for 2 or 3 days he would do a few things, and then I'd be like, okay, like, and so I'm trying to think, like, so for a good amount of the time that we were together, he didn't work. There was a point where he moved in with his ex, and I wasn't allowed
He moved in where with his like to his. Okay, I'm sorry.
to live to
Okay,
live.
while in a relationship with you.
Well,
Yes or no?
yes.
Okay.
Well, it's hard because he would never like admit that we were in a relationship. In my eyes, yes, we were. We were exclusive, but like he would never say like I'm his girlfriend. And so it was just very awkward and uncomfortable because like when we would go around people, I felt like I couldn't be like, this is my boyfriend. I'd have to be like, this is and just like let them assume our status, because I couldn't even tell them what our status was. And like I think I had told you guys, but one time at my brother's wedding, he had like come to me and he's like, hey, just so you know, I told your uncle that I'm your boyfriend. And I'm like, yeah, it's been like 4 years. Like, what do you, like, what do you, yeah, that sounds about right. Um, but so at one point when we were together, he moved in with his ex and he lived with her for like 2 years.
But this was
But
right
when he
in the beginning, wasn't it?
this was probably like 2 years in.
Oh, really?
Well, because he so Yeah, like, because I think I had told you, like, he made me wait, like, a year and a half before we, like, did anything.
I'm sorry, you did anything like sex?
Yeah.
You waited a year to have sex?
She loved him, Carly or Nadine.
I loved him, Nadine.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck, Jesus? Like, whoa.
That's a
Um,
loyal girl right there.
Yes!
I
12
She had never
yes.
months.
liked anybody before. Like up
Excuse
till then, I never remember really Carly saying like she ever liked anyone or connected. Like so this was the first man that Carly ever felt like connected to.
This is the
Excuse
first
me.
man that I had this, like, spark, and when I tell you, like, it was, like,
12 months first,
consuming.
like,
It was total consuming. Like, Devin can vouch, like, I was blinded by this man. Like, I just my I was blinded. When they say love is blind, that was me with him. Like,
12, wait, but hold on.
Not
12,
even dickmatized, just that
like,
man.
that, 12 months,
yeah,
like 12 months for sex. I just want to,
eight, 18 months, ma'am.
18
18
months,
months.
so not even 12 months.
You could have had two
Yeah.
babies.
Shit.
Yeah. Well, because he had told me he wanted to wait until marriage, and I wanted to respect that. So we'll move past that.
He was weird about like in that area.
He had religious beliefs, yes.
Excuse
Which
me.
I'm not
I'm
very
sorry, I have a
religious
question.
person.
I have a question. With said religious beliefs, did he move in with you?
Eventually, yes.
Oh, okay.
Well,
So
so
his
this is
religious
my thing.
beliefs were as needed, like situational, not
Yes.
necessarily entirely, because like you're not gonna move in with me and not give me dick. Like I'm not playing crackhead games.
And I feel like this is why I'm always like, not, I don't think all religious people are the same, but I will say there is a group that I feel like they'll give and take, and they'll take what they want from the Bible, and then they'll throw it. So, like, it's okay to have premarital sex, but it's not okay to do this or that, or it's not okay to have premarital sex, but you can drink and abuse your wife, and you know
Well,
what I mean?
Jesus
Like,
did turn water to wine. We'll just say
all
we'll
I'm saying is there's certain, I just don't like when you're gonna just pick and choose what you want. If you're going to be a devout believer, you need to follow it all.
you need to
Anyway,
him. That's what you
You
need
need
to
to
do.
love everybody. Like that's bottom line. Just
yeah,
that.
at the end of the day, like, my whole thing is like, I don't care what your beliefs are as long as you're a good person.
Yeah.
If you are a good person and you worship a rock, I do not care, because you know what? That rock is telling you to be a good person, and that's what
The
matters.
statutory, I think you can still sue him though. Like I'm gonna look that up. I think it's
That is Nadine's go-to. Sue
like
that
10
man. I'm
years,
going to sue him.
right? Like 10 years, because like nobody's moving into my house and not having, like, I want dick on demand. So he didn't. So that's
We
okay.
never
I'm gonna look
really did.
into it.
Like,
No,
this
I'm
is
gonna look into it. Don't you worry, because like I feel
And if
like
he
you're.
ever tries to come back, we are tying him up and like on a flagpole or something, letting his dick just swing around and shaming the hell out of that man. Sorry, but we
I'm gonna
are.
look into some laws for you, because no one. I'm offended. You never told me that you were deprived of dick like for 18 months. Like
well,
I can't even
honestly,
be deprived of
I
dick.
would say
Like
for 6 years. I would say for
Carly,
6 years.
yes, and you are a very like not. I don't think you're a whore, Carly, but you are a sexual being. All women are, and we are trained to almost like be ashamed of our sexuality, and that has fucked with my mind so much. But for you especially, I feel like you're so open. Look at Nadine at work.
I'm literally like
Nadine's
I
looking up a
have to
lawyer
figure
right
out
now.
if you can. I have to figure out if you can sue him for back sex. Like, no, you're not gonna reside in my house and not. Don't worry, I'm looking into it as we speak.
So, um, and like, I was so in love with this man, I ignored like all the red flags. Like, little things I didn't notice, but like, looking back, I remember there was one time where we had went out, and I had ran into some guys that I used to work with, and I didn't introduce him because I didn't know how to introduce him. So I acknowledge that, like, I should have introduced him, but I didn't know how. I didn't know what to do. So I kind of didn't say anything. But then afterwards, he was mad at me, so he refused to hold my hand. He's like, "Oh, you're not going to like introduce me," and like would not hold it. Like, it was kind of like that, like, what's it called, where it's like conditional, like, you didn't do it, like, I don't know the wording. I can't think of the word, but it was like
Toxic.
if
It's
I didn't
just
do something. Well, yeah, it was toxic, but like that specific thing was like you're you're punishing me. You know, like he's punishing me for the way that and it was all like I always felt on eggshells around him and like I didn't want to like say the wrong and like obviously it progressed and so I can remember like so he had lived with his ex for 2 years and the reason why he had moved out was because I had bought and during this time I had went to grad school, I got a big girl job, and then I decided to buy a house. And when I was buying my house, like I have a 2 bedroom, but also like I'm buying a house and we were together. And I had told him, oh, and that was like another thing. So there was a time where like we were living like not far from each other, but if you know how like the Tampa Bay area is, like Tampa and St. Pete, like there's a bridge you have to go over,
Mhm.
and not many people cross it unless like absolutely necessary. And I had lived over the bridge for my job, and I can remember like he'd come and visit me on the weekends, but it felt like such a task just to get him to come visit me. Like he'd be like, "Well, what are we gonna do if I come?" And it was like, you don't want to just like see me, like it was like I had to like plan all of and I just had worked all week. So I kind of wanted to relax a little, but I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, there's this event or this or we can do this." It was like I felt like I had to plan something. It wasn't like seeing me was enough. So I feel like that's why it's
So
really
hold on.
ingrained in me.
I just want to. So any form of sexual misconduct can be grounds for a civil lawsuit. I just want to throw that out there
Thank
because
you. I don't want to keep this I
I
have moved
want to
past
keep
this
it
part
going.
of my life. I'm
I
moving
personally,
forward.
I'm offended. You never shared this with me. I'm offended on a friendship level. I'm offended on a girl level because my vagina has to get service continuously. So for you to be like, for me to be looking at you in bed next to me, so like you're breathing my air, like, and then like you're not gonna put out. I have to have sex 3 times a day. Let's just establish that.
It was
And
such
so
a
for you
I
to
don't
mind
want
fuck.
to
me for
and I
18
don't
months
want to
and like
I
pretend
don't
to
want
be
listen.
like a nun for 18 months.
Like
And
a
I don't
nun.
want to put anything on blast, but like there's like way more that I could tell you guys off air, but I feel like I don't want to like do it
Yeah,
dirty like
you're
that.
classy. You're lady.
But so
We'll talk to the lawyers
uh
about it and see what they have to
For
say.
real, because I'm
yeah.
offended. I feel like there you
So
might be within that statutory window where you could sue and you might be able to like recoup some of your losses, like 6 years. And then the first
going
Well, it was
going
really a
back to the
control thing.
story, it was like a and maybe unknowingly, like I don't
Yeah.
want to assume that he knew what he was
he did,
doing.
he did. Anyone that
I don't
pulls
know.
sex from you is the
I don't
devil.
know.
Anyone that
Well,
I'm gonna
pulls
say I
sex
don't
from
know.
you is the devil. That's
well, if men aren't
he.
happy in their lives though, I
Yeah,
really
and
think
that's
that
the thing.
affects.
Yes, absolutely. And so anyway, so back to the story. So like I said, like I felt like I would always have to like be like, "Oh, there's this going on. This, we can do this." Like and I'll say like it even got to a point where I felt like I wasn't even doing any hobbies that I enjoyed anymore. I was just doing things I knew he liked because I knew it would like entice him to want to come spend time with me. And so I feel like that's why like when we broke up, it's like I really am like starting to embrace like what I like to do and not lose that because I would just do whatever he wanted to do because I thought that'd be the only way that I could see him and hang out with him. Like I really didn't feel like he liked me for who I was. He liked me for what I was giving him. This is how I interpret it. Anyway, so then after some time I am like I'm gonna buy a house, and at this point I think I was starting to get like more confident in myself because I told him I was like I'm buying a house, like if you don't move in with me I'm not continuing this. Like I'm not gonna continue to be cool with you living like with your ex, so I'm buying this house. If you choose not to move in, then that's it. And so obviously he moved in with me, and that was like a little, and it was like good in the beginning, but I think again we were on different. I think he was I don't I think he was intimidated by me because I was getting like my shit together. Like I got my masters, I was getting like a stable job, and I bought a house, and he wasn't there. Like he didn't have a job at this point. he kind of went to school for a little bit, then it fell off, and obviously.
Do you feel like he used you?
No.
No.
I mean,
They had a bond. That was the weird thing. Like I would like Karlie obviously knows I didn't love him, but
she didn't like him.
I, I hated him. But I didn't love him. And but they really made each other laugh. Like so it was so
Mhm.
hard to like, oh, I do not like this man. I would shove him in the face if I could. But when you would see them together and they're laughing, I'm like, okay, well, as long as Karlie's laughing, like as long as she's laughing, I'm good. So
And I think that's what held me so long, because we did have like that special, like,
like that special
but
language between the two of you.
yeah. And so I think just like, because when we had moved in together, like I genuinely was like, this is our house. Like in my head, like this is our house. We're building this for us. Like this is for us to grow together. Even though everything was in my name, like I genuinely, like, what's mine is yours. This is ours. But he didn't see it like that. And so I think he would get very like uncomfortable when I would talk about like furniture and buying things, because I think he felt like less than, because like I was paying for everything. But I was just like, in my head, I'm like, don't think like I'm not thinking that way. You don't think that way. Like I'm not holding this against you. Like I'm doing this because I want to for us. But clearly, like I think it was just starting to get to a point where he just, wasn't happy. And there were a lot of situations where he made me feel very um less than, because like I can remember one time, this was kind of early on when I was in grad school and I was living at my parents, and I would drive to Tampa all the time to see him. He wouldn't drive to me a lot. And then I remember we went to Ybor one night, and I went to the bathroom and I had his phone and I went through it. Don't do it. If you ever feel like you need to go through a phone, I don't think you should be with that person.
That's your answer right
But
there.
yeah, so I went through his phone and I was looking for text between him and his ex that he was living with, and I actually didn't find anything between them. But then I found this, at this time he was back in school. I had found a text with him and like one of his classmates, who at this time he was like 27 and his classmates were like 2021. So like ew. But like granted I was like
Yeah.
22 at the time. So, like
Ew.
ew.
My
But
peers.
what annoyed me was I felt like at this time I was already kind of feeling like you're not really communicating with me. And then I read a text that he's texting this girl that he's thinking about her. Like, and he put like, I've been thinking about you for 32 minutes and 16 seconds, or like some specific,
Ooh.
and it was just like, are you, so it was like, you really thought about this text message, not just like, oh, I've been thinking about you. It's like, no, you were very and like we would go out and like I'd be talking to him and he would be like, and I'm like, can you like not stare at other women while we are out together and I'm
You
having
didn't
a
punch him in the throat. I would have punched him in the throat.
girl, I
Karlie
would
will
just
now,
cry.
but back then.
Yeah, now I know, but like at the time I'm just like, but like,
Echo wants to be seen. I'm sorry.
aw, it's
Hi,
okay.
Single
Echo.
parent issues, children just pop up,
But so there were a lot of times where like he didn't make me feel like, he made me feel like less. And then so anyways, back to us living together. I can remember it was, I want to say it was the New Year's before everything started to build up. Were you going to say something, Devin?
No, I'm just wondering, because to help people that, are dealing with this or in this situation, what was your like, did you realize, even it being your first relationship, did you like, were there thoughts of just like, this isn't what I imagined a relationship being like? Or were
No.
you, no?
No.
Okay.
Not until the end, not until about probably this time that I'm starting to talk about. Before I just thought that this was
Okay.
people go through rough time. No, I had now retrospect. I'm like, this is not healthy at all.
So in
But
your
like,
mind, you thought rough times were forever.
huh?
In
Or
your mind, you
normal.
thought rough times were forever.
Yeah, I guess I thought. Well, in my, I didn't think we were always in rough times, because the thing is when we were good, we were good. We were great. But when we were bad, it was very bad. Like, we never had like it was either we were great on top of the world or we were not doing good. And
And
I
when you
just thought,
were great on top of the world, where like was that like under the influence of like alcohol or whatever, where you felt like you were at your best?
in the beginning, yes. In the beginning, because he drank a lot, and in the beginning, I would match him.
Ugh.
And, like, I would get trash because I was matching him because he could drink, but it was just so good, and I liked when in the beginning, I liked when he was drunk because he was more affectionate towards me.
Ugh.
But then as it went on, when he would drink, especially when I started to slow down, he became an asshole. Like, he was so I hated being around him when he would drink because he was just so mean and be mean to me, and it was just like, screw you, like, I can remember, and like, I'm totally against drinking and driving, but he would like drink and drive, and there would be times where he'd be like, I don't remember coming home last night
Mm.
because he was that drunk. And he would leave, so he would leave me like all weekend or all day to go be with his friends and like drink, because at this point, like, I had stopped drinking. And so he would go to be with them, like, and leave me all day, like 8 hours of the day. And I'd be like, this is my day off. Like, I wanted to spend time with you. And he would just all day be gone. And then he would call me on his way home. And I knew when he would call me, just by the tone of his voice, if he had drank or not. I could know. That is how well I knew this man, that by his tone, I knew if he had been drinking or not. And when he was drinking, I hated talking to him, but I would always stay on the phone with him because I needed to know that he made it home safe, because I was always terrified that something was going to happen. And what's crazy is, like, when he would go out there, he would like lose his phone like a lot. And if I didn't hear from him when I knew he went out the night before, my first thought was he's in jail or he got hurt because he was drinking. That was my first thought because of how much he would drink and drive.
And that's so stressful. That part alone is like
Mm-hmm.
traumatizing.
I can remember there was one time where I didn't hear from him until like 3 in the afternoon, and I was just so stressed. I was calling his friend. I'm like, have you heard from him? Like, I've not heard from him yet today. And like, finally, he had reached out to me, and he was like, I lost my phone or whatever. And I'm
So
just like,
for our viewers, I put my shades on because like that's fuckboy like tendency number one. They don't ever lose their phones. Their phones are their lifelines. Okay, their phones are their heart.
no, he would literally get drunk and lose. He would have to go buy a new phone.
Childish.
Like, that's how much he would drink, maybe. He literally would have to go buy a new phone because he lost his phone. Like,
He,
he would legitimately
he
lose his
would
phone.
drink. I remember at my birthday, he
He
like
would
spilled my
drink.
friend's drink, and
Yes.
he was just sloppy. And so that alone is so
He
like,
didn't know how to socially drink. Like, when he drank, it was to get trashed. He didn't know how to like have a couple drinks. And so it got to a point to where that's honestly why I stopped drinking, was because I thought if I stopped drinking, he would, but instead it just made him go out like externally. And so he would leave me on the weekends for like 8 hours, like all day. And he would just do things that like just weren't okay. Like, I feel like for me, like, now it's like, if you wouldn't be okay with me doing it, you shouldn't be doing it. And like, there was this one friend, like, and that was another thing, like, all of his friends that were girls, which were most of his friends, I'd never met them. Me and him were together for 6 years. I'd never met them. And so this one girl in particular, who she definitely had a crush on him, she bought him a brand new PlayStation 4 when they came out. I was going to buy that for him, and she bought that for him. A brand new one. I'm like, she likes you, like, you cannot be that dumb. You cannot be that naive. Yes. For a friend, you're gonna buy them a plate? No. But he would go there, and he had
what?
told me
This
once that,
man had a trance.
listen, he went there once, and this when we were living together, and and this was what frustrated me. And this is, I think, this is why I have a lot of trauma, because like, I would call him and I'd be like, hey, like, are you coming home soon? Yeah, I'm getting ready. I'll leave in like 15 minutes. An hour would go by. Hey, like, where are you? Oh, I'm getting ready to leave. And like, his best friend, after we had broke up, me and him had talked, and he'd be like, I'd be there when he'd tell you that, and we'd hang up, and he'd be like, let's order another drink. He was like, he would never, like, just disregard my feelings all the time. And so one time he had told me that he went to this friend's house, this woman, and they would watch football together because she apparently loved football. No, she loved you, motherfucker. So they would watch football, and he said one time they got so drunk she got naked. And I'm like, that's not okay. And he was like, yeah, I had to get her into bed. And I'm like, that's like very inappropriate. Like you should not be getting so drunk with a female friend that she's getting naked in front of you. Like that's
I'm
not I'm not
at that
okay with
point.
that.
I fight you. I have to fight you. There's no communication at that point. I have to put my hands on you. I have to put my hands.
He the thing is I allowed it. He did whatever he wanted and I allowed it because I thought I was so in love with him and I thought he was the one that I was going to be with forever and it was going to work out. And so I just allowed a lot like but again, so we started living together. When we started living together, that's when I think I started to finally be like I can't live like this. So like had Devyn had said like when did I realize, and I think it's when we lived together that's when it really made me realize like we are so different and I can't do this 24/7 because prior to us living together I would see him like on the weekends or like things like that, but then 24/7 I was like I can't do this, and there was one time where so again he didn't have a job, so when I would get up to go to work, especially when I had adopted my dog because I adopted her like a month after us living together and it was supposed to be like our dog, and he was excited about it at first, but then I think he got like annoyed with the responsibilities, and so he was like,
God forbid.
why.
I mean, he's unemployed. God forbid he has to walk her. God, like who?
Well, so that was the thing is like I would wake up earlier before having to go to work, walk her. Then when I would get home, I'd have to walk her again. I was like, and it was like that's not what I want to do. Like it was like I wished he would acknowledge like, hey, she's going to work. Let me get up and walk the dog and stuff. But like he would get up and go run on Bayshore and like we would talk on our
He
way to
had
work
time for luxury. He had time to run for his happiness.
like every day.
So
This man like
does
went
he
running
know?
every day.
But does he know that dogs run too?
Yeah, but
I
that wasn't but
ask. I'm just
I
asking.
mean, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
That
and
was that
Karlie, could you imagine me? I met and could barely deal with him. Could you imagine
I just need 10 minutes.
it's all right. Well,
I just need 10 minutes with him. Like, dude, like my G, like dogs don't run. Like, so you
if?
thought it was okay for you to go running? Like, that's next level. Like,
Mom,
I'm gonna poison your fucking water source. Like, it's okay. Go ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
I
Sleep.
can only
Nadine,
imagine if Nadine met him.
uh,
Could you imagine?
no. So back to the story. So he would like go running and like we would talk. Anyway, so there was one day, again, we're living together at this point. One day where so usually when he was done with his run, he would call me on his way home and it was usually around my lunchtime and we would talk or whatever. And this particular day, I tried to call him. He didn't answer. And, a couple hours go by. I call him again. He didn't answer. I get off of work. I call him. No answer. I get home. He's not home. I'm like, where is this man? I call his friend, like his best friend who I knew. And he was like, no, I've not heard from him or whatever. Finally, it's like 6 or 7. He's like, I'm on my way home. I'm like, okay. I'm like,
Excuse
where
me.
were you?
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I'm like, where were you? Oh, I went to the causeway and went, swimming and I was like, by yourself? Yeah. I don't believe you. I said, I don't believe you. I was like, whatever. I'm going up to take a shower. I go to take a shower. I come downstairs. Okay, I wasn't by myself. I went with who is ex. He went with his ex. And I was like, you lied straight to my face. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. Of course I wasn't. Um, but yeah, that was probably, I don't know when that was, but then I'll say Devyn had come to visit. When Devyn had come to visit, um, I think she planted the seed because me and her were going to get mail. And Devyn, you have that story of when he was in the room.
That was when I realized, because I guess I had moved away, so I really wasn't like
Right.
in your day-to-day life, so I really didn't know like what was going
And I don't
on.
think we really talked a lot at this point, especially because of him. I think
Yeah,
me and you didn't really
like when
have
I
a
lived there,
strong
because
relationship.
you guys had just started when I was about to move away, so I only knew a little bit of him. Then I move away, and then I came to visit, and this is my cousin's house. Like when I come to Tampa, Karlie and I have had to walk through this together, but I just want Karlie to do everything with me. Like whatever I do, I want Karlie there. And so we were going somewhere, and that's when I realized I couldn't like keep my mouth shut anymore. Like there was little things obviously, but I'm just like, okay, keep your mouth shut, keep your mouth shut. But then when we went upstairs to go get different shoes, we realized it was raining and I had on bad shoes. And so we go up to the room I was staying in, which was like, I guess like an office space or like he was doing
For him. It was
for
his
something.
like room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
my
I'm sorry.
things were,
So he had a room and he was unemployed.
So he pretty much had a separate we really didn't really sleep together much because he would complain that
I have nothing left.
yeah, he would
16 months,
complain.
no sex. You're out of control, and we don't sleep in like you have privileges to sleep in your own. I have nothing. Like I just want his phone number. That's it.
yeah, please call him. But I go in,
Anyway,
Carly goes to knock on the door and he doesn't realize that I'm with her or like an idiot. Like, of course I'm with her. And she knocks and the way he said Carly's name, like she was just like this annoying little sister or something. Like, how dare you knock on the door? Like he was a big time producer or something, like, and couldn't be bothered. And I remember wanting to just like stay, like I knew he like could tell, like once he realized I was with you, that like, cause like you have to at least put on a front in front of the family. You want to be toxic when it's you two, like you guys both have to take accountability for that. You guys do what you do. But when there's other people around, you have to at least put on a fucking show.
and he did.
And he
Around
did.
my family, he would.
Yeah. And but that moment he couldn't hide. And so I just remember his face. He looked like a ghost, like he had saw a ghost. Um and then we left. But then I think it was either later that day or the next day, because he tried to turn me and Carly against each other,
Yeah.
basically.
Because because you had taken a picture and I didn't care, but he like made it a huge deal like how dare you have this picture of me? And then he got
Sorry,
really offended.
was he part of the photo? So he
No,
was part
but
of the photo, and
We're not gonna talk about the
okay,
photo.
he felt moved to like share with you about his
Carly was
opinion.
naked.
it was like a naked pic of me, like my upper. It wasn't like full body
Yeah,
naked,
no,
but
no,
like
no.
my boobs were out, and Devin had taken it like funny, and then she had like sent it to someone like your mom or something, and like I don't
No, I think
care.
he was scared I was gonna send it.
Oh, because I think you joked that you did,
Yeah, I joked
and
that I was
he
gonna
was
send it
just
in the family group chat. And like obviously why would I do
yeah,
that?
and
Well,
he
I'm a
was just
nudist, so
like,
like I don't understand that. It's your body, it's your choice. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. It's your body, it's your choice.
He tried
I
to flip
really
it.
was like, well, I wasn't really bothered, but then he like when Devin wasn't there or like something, he had like come into the room and he was like, "That's not okay." Like I'm not, like, and so that's how the whole thing happened with me and Devin because me and her were going to get mail, and I had to be like, "Oh my god, I have to tell her like, like please don't send this photo, like da da da." And then Devin was just like, "He's like dimming your light," She was like, and I think and it's funny because I didn't think much of that conversation after, but then when everything happened, I'm like, that was the start of me like really being mindful of like I'm not happy, and like I think that's when like I started to think about like if he were to propose, like I could not say no. Like I remember I would think about like us forever, and then like after that I was just like thinking of like, because then the pandemic happened shortly after, and we were on different pages about the pandemic. I took it very seriously, and I felt like he was still like trying to go out and do things, and um and then I would think about like him proposing, and then like we would go hang out. And I remember at this point, like again, this I was just like so emotionally and mentally drained that I would like if he wanted to go do something, I would have to be like, "How long do you think we're gonna be there?" And it was because like I had to like mentally prepare myself. So if he said like 2-3 hours, I would hype myself up, but like my body could I literally could tell when it had been about 2-3 hours that we were out, because I would start to get uncomfortable and like get uneasy and just be like, I need to get home. I need to get home, because I literally did not have like that mental energy to put on a show to pretend that I was happy because I was so unhappy. And so I will say I was also very unhappy with my job. So it was like I was going to work, I was so unhappy. I had a really horrible boss. She was super unsupportive, and just it was just really really toxic environment at work. And then I would come home and I was very unhappy in my relationship at home. Like it got to a point to where I was going to my parents' house every single weekend, and that was like another thing is like my family is very important to me. I'm very close with my family. I want someone who will be okay with us going to my parents' house and hanging out. Like, we go and hang out, you know, it's not like we have to have a specific agenda or anything like that. And I can remember, like, anytime I would ask him, like, to come with me, he'd be like, well, what are we gonna do? And it would be like I'd have to, like, or you know, he'd have to bring like textbooks with him or something to like keep himself occupied, because he'd be like, oh well, like, I'm like, we're gonna hang out, like, we're gonna
Why do you
chill, like,
why
talk.
why do you feel like you tolerate all that? Did you have low self-esteem?
I think it was because of the first guy, and yeah, I feel like I felt like I felt like no one had ever chosen me, you know, like, and I just wanted someone to finally
Yeah.
choose me, and I feel like that's why I felt like I had invested so much into him that I couldn't just give up after. So it was like at this point now, I'm like, I'm in it, I'm devoted, I'm invested, and so I feel like that's also why I stayed for as long as I did, because it was like I wanted to finally be like I made it. You
Mhm.
know, like I went through all of this to say that I made it.
Mhm.
I think that was why it was really hard for me to leave too, because I read this once that it was like I didn't want to leave because I didn't want another girl to get the you that I deserved.
Mm.
And
But when you say
that
the you that I deserved, that was pretty much you speaking in regards to his potential, not what was actually happening.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. Like I never knew if he was going to actually change. Like,
Okay.
but it was like I felt like I put all of this work in him that it was like if you do change, I deserve to get that version of you, you know?
Understood.
So,
Well,
and like I would all
and just to say you're not alone on that. I've heard so many
yeah.
girls say that, and I just wish that like as women we understood like you are just a part of that person's life, and so if you are meant to make that person better, or then that's just that chapter of their life. Like you can move on
Yeah.
just because you've invested or you did your best. Like I just wish we all knew that like you can move on. It's like you're going to
Yeah.
get the man you deserve because you treated someone like because you treated him so well. You will be blessed for that even though
Mhm.
it's not from him. But
Yeah. And like, cause I'll say, I used to make excuses for him all the time too. I'd be like, oh, like he just doesn't know how to express himself because of the way that he grew up. But I was like, and now I'm very like, I refuse to make an excuse for a man that doesn't make excuses for himself. Like, I'm making excuses for him when he doesn't even say, like, hey, Carly, like, I struggle with this because of this. Like, but I was doing it. And I'm like, why am I doing it when he's not? Like, so anyway, fast forward, I would think like I can't marry this man, and like I just was just very on eggshells. I was very unhappy at work. I'd come home, I was very unhappy at home. Like it got to a point where like on the weekends he'd be like, "Hey, do you want to wake up early tomorrow and go running on Bayshore?" And I'm like, "No. Like I just worked 40 hours. I didn't get to wake up leisurely and run on Bayshore like you did all the days of the week. I had to work and I'm mentally drained because it's a job that I hate." And so I just be like, "No, just go." So it got to a point to where towards the weekends we were doing totally opposite things because I wanted to like relax and just like,
And
and
then let me
he
ask
wanted.
you this, like, so because I just need to know for my, so were you still having sex?
um
Nope, you weren't. The it
we never really had sex a lot, and if we did it was like once a month. Like it was never a lot. And so fast forward, so now it's October 2020, and I had wrote a letter about how I was feeling, and I asked him to read it because there would be times where I'd go into his room, the guest room, and I'd be like, "Hey, can like we talk?" And he'd be like, "Oh, like I was having a good day," like, you know, like make me feel bad that like, sorry, I'm not good. So I'd just be like, "It's fine," like, you know, and I would hold all these feelings in, like just like crying, because like if I would try to talk to him, I would like immediately cry because I was just like so drained. So it's October 2020. I write a letter about how I'm feeling about him and everything, and I asked him to read it. And then after he read it, he was like, "I don't think we should be together." And I was like, "I agree," you know? And I think he thought I was like joking at this point. Not joking, but like it was like all of our other times. And so then I can't remember what had happened, but I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go home to my parents this weekend and like think about it." Like and at that point he's like, "Can I come with you?" And I was like, "No, you've never wanted to come with me before. Let me go alone and let me clear my mind and see how I feel." And so I remember when I had come back, I don't know, I cannot tell you what it was about this time that I knew that it was it, and I knew I was for sure done. um but I felt it, like I knew this was it. It took a little time, but I knew this was it. So I had come back from the weekend and I had told him, like, if I give you another shot, like, these are the things that I need. And I was like, if you're hanging out with friends and you say you're coming home, I expect you to be coming home. If you're not going to come home, update me. Let me know, hey, it's going to be a little bit like, it wasn't crazy things that I was asking of him. It was not. And after I had told him what I expected, he was like, you're expecting perfection from me and I can't give that to you. So at that point I knew, like, okay, this isn't going to work. So then he was like, well, this is why I didn't want to move in with you, because now I don't have anywhere to go. And so whatever. So he asked to be my roommate. So he asked to be my roommate, so I was like, okay, like, we can see how that works. You move all of your things into the guest room and we'll just go. But he wasn't respecting that boundary. Like, if I was laying on the couch, he would try to cuddle me on the couch. Or like, if I was in the shower, he'd jump in the shower. And I'm like, you've never wanted to shower with me before, and now all of a sudden you want to be in the shower. Because, like, I would beg him for that. I'd be like, can we take a shower together? Like, I love things, like, and he'd be like, no, like, it's not fun, da da da. Now you want to come in the shower? No, bro, leave me alone. Leave me alone.
A
He'd
shower
make me
is everything. Like I wouldn't just kill him because I don't think I've ever had a relationship that I was so deprived of like that's just horrible of sex. Like that's and that intimacy. That's just
I like how Nadine's focus is still on that. There
because
was a lot
that's
that I
how
was
you like
deprived of,
correspond.
Nadine.
Like it's a natural
Yeah.
progression. Like you move in,
But
like
here's the
the
thing is he
natural
was my
progression.
first relationship, so I was like, "Oh, like, maybe you just don't have a lot of sex." I don't
No, no,
know.
no.
Like,
They do.
well,
So it's like the natural progression. Like it's just one of those things where you're just kind of like, if I'm around you and you're so into me, like any guy that like gets off on your scent or gets off on like the way you twirl your hair or the way like you can tell that they're into you. Like once a month, like I'm like you have to pay fucking rent once a month. Like you're not gonna live at my house
Yeah.
and service me once a month. Like we're not playing crackhead games. Like if I'm laying next to you, I have to wake you up, to be like, hey, like, listen, like, I've had exes that are just like, listen, like, look, I need dick right now. Like, and they just let it happen to them. So for me, it's like, just like the whole month aspect, like, I feel like, and I'm sure you're like, of course like, you're sharing your story or whatever, but like, those are like clear indications for girls, like, everywhere, like, and women that intimacy, like especially like if he's not the type to like sneak a kiss or just whatever, like at least like have that sexual bond. Like that's what really strengthens your
well, that was
your
another
bond.
thing too, is like, I love to, like, kiss. And I'd be like, "Can I have a kiss?" And he'd be like, "Again," or something like that. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, it was like such a, like, chore for him to, like, even kiss me. And it was like, so he never really made me feel good. Like I said, he made me feel like you don't like me. Like,
Well,
and I remember
he had major issues, obviously, and then projected
And they
them onto
were transferred
you.
over. Yeah, they were transferred over.
yeah.
Like he hated
Yeah,
me,
because
hated himself. That's what it is.
and I remember we were driving once and something, and I was like, "You don't like me. Like, you don't, like, you don't like me." But anyway, so we had tried to be roommates. And then that February of 2021, I went home for the weekend for my mom's birthday. And at this point, things were really bad. Like, for me, like, mentally, like, my mental health was just
And you got a
gone.
therapist.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry. So in October, when we had broke up, I got a therapist. And the first session that I had with her, so we introduced ourselves and she was like, "How are you?" I just started bawling. I couldn't even get out, cuz it was just like, that moment when someone's genuinely asking, "How are you?" and you're just like, "I'm not good." I just sobbed. And she was like, "It's okay. Like, take your time." And it was probably a couple minutes before I finally was like, "Okay," and I could talk, and I was just like, "I'm not good." And so she, like, talked me through it, because I think at this point I was still, like, hoping that things could work out. And so, she was trying to, like, um respect my, like, because now she'll be like, "I knew that was not good for you." But at the time, like, when I was wishy-washy, she was like, okay, because like it got to a point where me and him, we had a list on the fridge of chores because he felt like he did more than me. And so we had to list the chores that we did around the house. And I was like, I'm working all
I
day.
have nothing left.
So like if I did the dishes, I would have
Shit
to
that
put my
you burned, like I would burn the fucking house down and he would be collateral damage. Like fuck that shit. I'm like, I'm just gonna collect my insurance money because like
like
what we're not gonna
talking
do
to you
is talk
guys
about
is making
chores.
me
We're not gonna talk
talking to
about
you
chores.
guys.
When I get home, I want to see my face like on the floor. I want to see like I'm working and you're home. Like I want to see my
Yeah.
face on the floor. I want you to greet me like just with like a heart on at the front door. Like we're not playing crackhead games. Like this is a choice. You're not disabled. Okay.
You
You don't have any issues and you choose not to work and you don't think that you're gonna like come at the front door and greet me with a warm welcome and just be like, oh my god, I'm so happy to see you. Like, no,
it's me
I have to burn the house down. I have to burn
all
the
of
house
these
down.
memories are coming back, and like it like he would ask me what's for dinner after I get home from work, and I'm like, you know. And there were times, one time Devyn, I had to, both of you guys, but Devyn will be like, what? We went grocery shopping because I wanted to go grocery shopping with him. Like, let's buy groceries for the house. So we go, and I will admit that I am a like bargain queen. Like, I look for deals. And so I tend to buy one get one freeze, even if it's not necessary. I acknowledge that it's a
That's my
flaw.
entire pantry. You're fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so
You're not
we're
fine.
at
Both of you aren't fine, but
No,
okay.
Publix has my heart. Like my ex boyfriend, he's just like, dude, like, well, why are you this way? And every time I come home, things don't even match. The combinations don't even match. But like, it's right there when you walk in. It's like, hey, buy me, and I'm like,
well, me
I
and
can't not
Devyn,
buy it.
me and Devyn have talked about why we are the way we are this way.
No,
But
I think that's a
so
good trait. I mean, I don't like your other
I'm
traits,
not
but
that
that
way.
I like. I like that one.
so we're at the grocery and I see something buy one get one. He gets mad at me that I'm buying buy one get one. Mind you, I'm paying for the groceries. He doesn't give me money for the groceries. He gets so mad at me, Devyn, that he left and walked home from the grocery.
Oh, very good.
So I get
So that means you can get whatever you want now.
So I finish up the grocery shopping, get in line, pay for everything, load the car, and I'm driving home and see him on the side of the road.
I would have
So
hit
I
him
pull
with my car.
over and I'm like,
I would have tried to hit him with my car.
so I pull over and I'm like, will you get in the car? Like, like I don't see what the big deal is. And he's like, we don't need that stuff. Like, you always just buy one, get one. And I'm just like, okay, just like get in the car. So like telling the story, you guys, like it's bringing back so many memories of like, what did so
But you're no longer that girl, and that
I'm
just
not
you
that
should be
girl.
proud of yourself. And like, no
I'm
one
not
would
that
ever
girl.
be able to treat you that way again.
Not with me around. I'm not
Hell
okay with it. I'm just
no.
okay with that. This
I'd be like, you are on crack, you go, like, but I had to go through it, I guess, to learn. But so I go home. So at this point we're roommates. I go home for the weekend for my mom's birthday and I had a therapy session. And I I knew I wasn't good, but I was trying to put on a front that I was better than I was, but I wasn't. And my therapist, I can't remember what we were talking about, but she pretty much was just, I told her, I was like, listen, like, I struggle to get out of bed. Like, I was like, it takes everything in me to get out of bed in the morning. And at this point, I was going to bed at like 7 p.m., like sleeping through the night, just sleeping, just always sleeping. Like I would get home from work and take a nap and eat and shower and go right to bed again. So it was like sleeping was just helping me pass time because I was just like, so I told her, I was like, I can't get out of bed, like it's, and she was just like, Karlie, like that's depression. And like when she said that, it was so hard for me to be like, what? Like, she was like, what you're going through, like you're depressed. And she was like, I don't want you going back to your house. She's like, I'm concerned for your mental health and I don't want you going back there. And so like I was like, what do I do? Like he's living there, like, and she was like, he needs to leave. And so
let me ask you this.
I had
Did
like,
he get Mel there?
yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah. because we were living together for like a year at this point. Like, I think we lived together for like a total of a year and a
So
half.
he established residency. That's fine. Go ahead.
So after my therapy session, I was like, I have to call him. And I remember walking into initially right after my therapy session, I remember walking into my parents' room, and my dad was like on the phone or something. And you could tell I was crying, but he was like, "What's wrong?" And I just started bawling. And he like I remember he just like hung up the phone, he like ran over and like hugged me, and he's like, "Whatever it is, it's okay. You know me and your mom will help you." Like, and like that just made me cry even more because it was just like it was just like I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do. And so I ended up calling him. And so my therapist was like, give him 2 weeks. Like, 2 weeks. So I had called him, and at this point I was like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, oh, so and so is gonna come over and hang out and watch the football game. And so I didn't so okay, so then I think I was like, I need to talk to you. Devin, are you crying?
Yeah, because you're so loved, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to hear, like, when someone you love goes through that kind of stuff. Sorry.
Don't make me cry. Oh my god, I'm gonna be like crying on the podcast. I'll say like
I'm just mad as hell. I'm just mad. I am
We got
mad.
all the emotions going on here.
So mad right now. The level.
Najean's mad. Devin's over here crying, gonna make me cry. So I remember like telling him like you have to move out. And at first he was like, okay. And then he like called me back like 5 minutes later, and he's like, I realize now you're putting yourself first and I need to put myself first. And he's like, so I need 3 months. And so I like was just like when I thought about it, because 3 months would have been past my birthday, and I did not want to spend my birthday with him. Like, I just knew like my birthday was like my fresh start. So I gave him to the first of the month of my birthday month. And we had agreed on that. And so I pretty much stayed at my parents' house, and I had only brought enough clothes for a weekend. So, and I think I had told you guys this before, but it had gotten so bad that like when we were like living together as roommates, when I'd wake up in the morning to like go to work and stuff, I would throw up, like, because I was just so just like drained and exhausted that like I would get up and I would just be so uneasy that I would throw up like almost every morning on my way to work. Like, not on my way to work, but like getting ready, like I would throw up, and then I'd be like, okay, like it was the norm to me at that point. Like, that was just what it was. And so then I had only packed enough for like a weekend. So like obviously my mom like did my laundry, but I had told my mom like I'm not going to go back there. Like, I can't go back there. So the next weekend my mom and my best friend drove up with me because I knew I couldn't do it alone. I knew because I knew he would try to talk to me, and I knew I still wasn't like at that point yet that I was strong enough to like so I don't think he was expecting my mom and my friend to be there, because then he like stayed downstairs while I collected my things. And at this point I didn't have a job. So I did end up quitting my job the month before. So I didn't have a job. Then it worked out because I was helping my dad with his business. And it worked out obviously that I could live with my parents for 3 months and not worry about like getting to work and things like that. So I feel like it was good that I was with my parents and being surrounded by my family. Um, but so I was with them until the first of my birthday, and it just yeah, then he moved out. We didn't really communicate. I remember his dad's wife had called me one day when I was at my parents' house telling me like, I know you guys love each other and he loves you. And I was just like, love's not enough. Like, and I
Fuck
really
that.
think
That's not
going,
love. Fuck that times like 20 million. That's not love. That's possession. You
yeah.
possession.
And
You were a
I
chess
think,
piece. That's all you were. He used you to do what he needed to do, as malicious as he made. And I will get his last name at this call, but like he used you to get what he needed to get. Like, point blank, period. He had an agenda. Like, he's calculated. Comments are calculated. Like, you're telling me brief things, and that's what a narcissist does. Like, that's next level. Like, I am in it for myself. Like, I'm gonna ensure that at the end of the day, like, she has her feelings, but I'm gonna counteract that with just like, oh, like, your feelings are really affecting this household. Like, bitch, whose household is it? Like, it's my household. It's a privilege to be here, not a right. So oftentimes it's like, I don't know if it's age related or because they can smell it in the air that we give a shit about them, but like they prey on us where it's like, okay, like that one's gonna be one where because she's so like wants this to work, she's gonna fall in line. And that to me is what just like burns my insides because I'm just like, dude, don't fuck up a good person. Like a good like they're a good person for a reason. Like, and I make this joke with my little sisters all the time and my friends where I'm just like, dude, hoes are not made, or no, hoes are not born, they're made. Fuck girls are not born, they're made. Like we didn't come out the womb wanting to destroy you, but like how much can you take of a person like mistreating you and having an
Mhm.
agenda? He had an agenda and he exercised it, and then it's just like, you want me to have sympathy for you? Like, and still be
And that
cordial and still be like, oh, like what would Jesus
yeah.
do? Let me let you move your shit out like in increments as you see fit. In my home, by the way, the home in which we never really did have a home because you had your own room. And by the way, I was sex deprived, which means I wasn't able to make decisions correctly. And it's too much. It's too much.
It's true because Carly is such a like you are such a lover, and so like the right men needed to come into your life to like open that part of you up. Like I feel like a woman owning her sexuality and like that's a lot of who we are. Like our we give life. So like there's so much power in that area. And like, yeah, if you're deprived of that, especially in a relationship you feel is intimate, it's like,
Mhm.
but he didn't have that awareness. And like you weren't working on yourself at that time either. Your life changed when you started getting the help and you were
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
surround yourself with love and realize like, oh,
Mhm.
this isn't the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And like I, you know, so I feel like that was about 2 years ago, a little over 2, and I still feel like I'm healing from it. There are still things that I'm working because it was a lot, like I didn't realize and I didn't label it as abusive until after when I was like working with my therapist and she was like, that was an abusive relationship, and like I don't ever want to say that he was aware of it because I don't think that he was, but
He
it doesn't
was.
matter.
He was. I'm going to tell you why. Guys push their limits. Guys are fully aware of their actions at all.
But I don't think he realized how much it like broke me, like
Well, he was selfish, so he can't
Yeah.
even comprehend
Yeah.
and so like so we break up, he moves out. About 9 months later, I'm doing pretty well. He reaches back out and I'm in this phase where I think I'm doing so well that I'm like I can handle it, and he wants to jump back in. He tells me he realizes I'm it for him, like I will be his wife, like he wants to marry me, like. And I'm like, you know what, we can start off as friends and see if we can build from there. But I realized I couldn't even be his friend because anytime like we talked, it was like I felt like, because at this point I do feel like he listened to me, and I felt like I had to get out everything that he ever made me feel. And he would always be like, damn, like I feel like when we talk, like you just like verbally knock me down. And I'm like, how do you think I felt in the relationship,
Not to
and
mention,
so I just,
he owes you back sex and back rent. Like, let's just, like,
I don't
not,
want it, I don't
no,
want it.
like, let's not avoid the obvious. Like, why do you think I would be warm to you when you owe me back rent and back sex? Like, let's just start there. Okay. Go ahead.
And
I'm sorry.
so
I'm just a little upset. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
we know Nadine. So I we talked for probably about a month and a half before I finally was like, I have to cut this off. Like it's bringing like, even like one of my close friends was like, it really brought you down, like you reconnecting with him. I thought I was like, I don't want to say that I wasn't strong enough, but I thought that I could have handled it, but I realized I couldn't even be his friend because like again, he wanted me to just forget the past and start fresh with him, and I'm like, I can't. Like that was 6 years that I went through, like. And I think it's harder. I think that going through that for anybody is hard, but for me personally, I feel like it was so hard because it was my first relationship. I was in my early 20s, and it was for 6 years. It was like during that time in your 20s when you're like growing and developing, and I was going through that. And then like it was my first relationship, and so I feel like it was just like a lot. Like I always joke with people that like when they had their boyfriends in high school, I'm like, I'm kind of jealous of that, of like when you guys broke up and you had to see each other every day in the halls, because it taught you how to handle that. You know, like for me, it was like when we broke up, it was like, I don't want to go to any place that makes me think of you. Because me and him didn't really have like anniversaries or anything, because again, he would never admit that we were together. So we didn't have an anniversary date, we didn't have any of that. So like for
I
me, what
hate
I
him.
hold
I
so
hate him.
so like for me, what I hold so closely is like our memories, you know? So sometimes it's really hard to like go back, cuz like there and again, there's a lot of places where we have really bad memories, and we were getting into arguments or fights, or I had to act like we were cool but we really weren't cool. So but I say all of this to give a glimpse of, I'm that is what brought me here, but I'm working on like rediscovering me and like coming out of my shell. Like I think I have in many ways, but there's still many ways that I'm still working towards that. Um yeah, I don't know, any questions?
I'm just upset. I said everything I need to say. I'm just upset, and I'm upset and I'm hungry. So I don't want to talk about it anymore. It just is what it is. He's dead to me. So it just is what it is. But like honestly, like I just need 15 minutes with him. Like that's all I want for Christmas. Cause like that's all I want for Christmas. But I mean, if you just want to give me his phone number, that's whatever. But that's all I want for Christmas because I I don't have words. I'm just upset. When I'm upset, I don't have words. This is live. It's recording. I don't want to incriminate myself. If I'm gonna do anything to him, it will be done. That's all I have to say on the matter.
I think if we're looking for the silver lining in all of this, like it made you the woman you are today, which I'm grateful for because again, your healing journey really again, you had a, beautiful childhood and like and then you came into like you had that typical like college years where you were able to like roam free and and then this man came into your life and that was just so like the mind games and just everything it did to you and but looking back now, again, 2 years ago when this happened, me and you weren't even on talking terms. So it's like you can see the difference of like what you are willing to do now. You're not punishing everyone for what he did to you anymore. You're not like you have come out of your shell so much. And so
Well,
it's
I think I like closed everyone off cuz I was just like I was hurting. Like I didn't even know how to navigate a heartbreak because I had never been through one before. So I'm 27, not knowing how to 26. I didn't know what to do. Like I can remember I had called my friend when I was at my parents' house, and I remember calling her and I'm being like, what do I need to tell my therapist to get me on some type of pills because I don't ever want to feel this way again. Like I was telling her I wanted to be put on medication because I just couldn't handle the immense pain that I was feeling, that I was just like, what do I have to say to, and she was just like, you have to go through it, and I was just like, I don't ever want to feel this way. Like, I don't want to feel this way. And I was just like, what do I say to like tell her that I need medication?
well, and what's your advice to people going through that situation? Like, is it us having better boundaries? Is it you knowing yourself before you get into a relationship? Like, what do you think you would have done or
Um,
could have done differently to protect yourself?
well, I definitely think having boundaries, but I'll say like when you are already in a toxic relationship like that, it's hard to then start setting boundaries because you've already allowed so much. But I feel like if you find a way out, like take it, and trust yourself, because it's very very hard to leave. I don't know how many times I had left in the past before this was my it wasn't like this was the first time that I had left and I did it. Like I had left, I don't know how many times before this time. I was like, I have to do it. And as many times as you want to turn back and run to them, just don't, because there were so many times where I would just be like, I just want to call him. I just want to call him. Because he was all that I knew, like I didn't even know me without him. So there were days, because like we would talk every morning, we would talk every night, like, so it was really hard to not talk to him. And there were some times where even when I was living with my parents after I had left, I would throw up. Like, I remember my sister-in-law brought me breakfast and I ate like half of it and I threw up because it was just like, it's gonna suck. I feel like there's no way around that. So I feel like I don't want to lie to anyone and be like, "Oh, you do this and this to avoid that." I feel like when you leave someone that you love, it's going to suck. But feel it. Like, let yourself feel it, because if you always try to avoid it, it's going to come up later on in life, and it might come out as like a reaction to something, and it's going to come out so major that people are going to be like, "What the hell? Like, why are you reacting this way?" So, I don't know, just it sucks, and it might suck for a while, and but it gets better, slowly gets better. But healing, what I always try to remind myself is healing is not linear. So like you're gonna have ups and downs, and like be easy on yourself, give yourself grace if you have bad days. Like, I just had a therapy appointment the other day, and my therapist was like, it's only been 2 years. She's like, you've done a lot in these past 2 years. You should be proud of yourself. But like, I tend to be hard on myself, and I think that I'm not where I should be. But we all have our own journey, and so just one day at a time.
That's right.
Well,
15 minutes if you can't do 24 hours. It's 15
15
minutes at a
minutes.
time.
I live my life off of that sometimes, 15 minutes at a time. So thank you for sharing, Carlie. Once
Yes.
more, I need his contact information, but
She's not gonna let that go.
yeah, no, I don't go. It's my sign. I'm very vengeful. We don't necessarily wake up this way. People get us to this point. So, yeah, but that's neither here nor there. So we'll conclude in a
Yes,
positive, note. And, that's just it.
And because of our Patreon, our Patreons, what are they called?
patron.
We are starting to gather some legal fees, like donations. So we could, we really could make it.
Hashtag
I
Team
think
Carlie.
you're still within that window. I'm gonna do some more due diligence. Just I'll circle back, but I I'll circle back. I mean, you were in it for
Real
6 years.
estate.
It has been 2 years. I think you're still within that 10-year window where we can claim a lot of things. Depending on where he is in life, we don't know. The better he's doing, the more we can recoup for your like he
Um,
fucks you up psychologically. Like so, as far
find
as
a friend like Nadine. Find a friend like Nadine.
yeah, 'cause we're not gonna like you're not gonna no, you're not gonna like affect me. 6 years? How many days, Siri? How many days is 6 years
So
of your life? Like that's a lot to be unhappy. And then like I'm not even gonna get myself wounded up about the sex, but that's neither here
we'll
nor
take
there.
this off
I'm just
air,
upset.
Nadine.
I'm just upset. I'm sexually frustrated for you.
I'll calm Nadine down off of air. But I would just like to thank everyone for listening to my story. If you have any more questions or statements, let me know.
Slide in
Team
their
hashtag
DMs.
Carly.
Yeah.
Slide in my
Don't slide.
DMs.
No one slide in my DM.
I'm single. I'm single, gentlemen.
Yeah. Get at
Don't
my
slide
girl,
in my DM.
Carly.
I have a bad attitude. Don't slide in my DM.
Anyway, thank you always for listening. Check us out on YouTube and Instagram, or check out our Patreon. It's Hard Being Human. Thank y'all.